We told our son to move on after his brother slept with his fiancée. Now he's completely gone and thriving without us. I'm sitting in my office right now staring at an old family photo on my desk. 4 of us, Helen, me, and our 2 sons. Kieran smiling in that picture. He doesn't smile like that anymore. Actually, I don't know if he smiles at all anymore. I wouldn't know. Came in at 8 like always, dress shirt, tie, coffee in hand, sat at his desk and started working. I watched him from my office. He didn't talk to Felix, didn't acknowledge him beyond a professional nod when they passed in the hallway, but he also didn't make a scene, just worked. Then I noticed the meetings. Tuesday afternoon, Kieran was in the conference room with our business attorney for 2 hours. When I asked our receptionist what it was about, she shrugged. He just said it was personal business matters. Wednesday, He spent an hour on the phone with our accountant. Door closed. Thursday, I saw him making copies of files, client contracts, financial statements, partnership agreements. Friday morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I caught him in the hallway. "What are you doing?" I asked. He looked at me with that same calm expression he'd had since the night of the confession. "Transferring out of the business, reviewing my stake in the partnership." My stomach dropped. "Kieran, come on. Don't be rash about this." "I'm not being rash. I've thought it through. You're making decisions while you're emotional. You're angry." "I'm not emotional." He interrupted. His voice was level, professional. "I'm being practical. This partnership isn't working for me anymore." "This partnership?" I repeated. "This is our family business. We built this together and now I'm leaving it legally, properly. My attorney is drawing up the paperwork." I grabbed his arm as he started to walk away. "Kieran, please don't do this. You're entitled to your feelings, but don't blow up everything we've worked for because your brother made a mistake." He looked down at my hand on his arm, then back at my face. "I'm entitled to more than my feelings, Dad. I'm entitled to my equity in this business, and I'm taking it." He pulled his arm free and walked away. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched my son systematically dismantle his life with us. He hired his own lawyer, filed formal paperwork to exit the partnership, everything by the book, everything legal. He didn't demand apologies, didn't make scenes, just quietly, efficiently separated himself from every business tie we had. Helen and I tried talking to him multiple times. "Your family," Helen said one evening when she cornered him in the parking lot after work. "We can work through this. I've made my decision," he said. Not unkind, just final. I pulled him aside a few days later. "Think about what you're doing. You're throwing away years of work, years of building something together." "No," he said. "I'm stepping back from something that isn't healthy for me anymore." Then I found out about the savings. Our accountant called me confused. Kieran had moved all his personal savings out of the joint business accounts we used for operational cash flow. Reorganized his entire financial structure. Everything separated, clean lines. "He's within his rights," the accountant said, "but I wanted to give you a heads up. He's completely divesting." 3 weeks after that night in the living room, Kieran finalized his exit from the partnership. Took his equity, cashed out, signed the papers with his lawyer present, professional to the last moment. Felix asked me, "What's he going to do now?" I didn't have an answer. Helen kept saying, "He'll come around. This is just temporary. He's hurt. He'll forgive us eventually." I wanted to believe her. I told myself he was being dramatic. That once he cooled off, he'd realize family was more important than pride. We thought this was a phase. We had no idea the exit was just beginning. A week after Kieran finalized his exit from the business, I tried calling him. The number didn't work. "Not disconnected into this line is no longer in service way, just changed." When I tried texting, the messages showed as delivered, but never read. I realized later they weren't actually going through at all. Maybe he just needs space. Helen said, "Give it another week." I gave it 2 weeks, then tried again. This time I tried social media. Every account blocked or deleted. I couldn't see his profile. Couldn't send messages. It was like he'd never existed online. I called his apartment. The landlord picked up. "Oh, Mr. Brennan moved out last week," she said cheerfully. "Nice young man. Left the place spotless." "Did he leave a forwarding address?" "No, sir. Paid everything in full and said he'd handle his mail through the post office." I stood there in my kitchen with the phone in my hand. Helen watching me with worried eyes. "He moved," I said. "I don't know where." That's when it hit me how complete the cut was. New phone number, new address. We had no way to reach him. No way to find him unless he wanted to be found. "He's just cooling off," Felix said when I told him. "He'll reach out when he's ready." But weeks turned into a month, then 2 months. Nothing. The silence wasn't dramatic. That's what made it so unsettling. No angry voicemails, no accusatory emails, no public confrontations. Kieran had simply erased us from his life like we'd never been there. Work got harder without him. Felix tried stepping into Kieran's role with the clients. It didn't go well. Kieran had spent years building those relationships, lunches, golf outings, remembering their kids' names. Felix had the technical knowledge, but not the rayor. I watched him fumble through a meeting with one of our oldest clients, the Hendersons. They were polite but distant. Afterward, Mr. Henderson pulled me aside. "Where's Kieran been?" "Haven't seen him in weeks." "He's taking some personal time," I said. The lie felt heavy. "Pursuing other opportunities." Henderson nodded slowly. "That's a shame. Good man, your son." The business kept running. We didn't fall apart, but there was a gap, a noticeable absence. At home, things were worse. The house felt wrong, heavy. Helen stopped cooking family dinners because it felt too painful with the empty chair. She'd start crying at random times, doing dishes, folding laundry, watching TV. "I should have said something that night," she said once. "I should have told Felix what he did was unforgivable. I should have stood up for Kieran." I didn't know what to say because she was right. Felix spiraled in his own way. The relationship with Vivian, born from betrayal and guilt, lasted maybe 3 weeks after Kieran left. They tried. You could see them trying, but every time they looked at each other, they saw what they'd destroyed. When Vivian ended it, Felix came to me. "I lost everything," he said. His eyes were red. "My brother, my relationship, and for what, a few weeks of something that wasn't even real." I wanted to comfort him, but part of me was angry. Part of me wanted to say, "You made your choice. These are the consequences." Instead, I just sat with him while he cried. He started drinking more. Not alcoholic levels, but enough that I noticed he'd come to work hungover some mornings. His performance slipped. He was bitter, isolated. "Why won't he just talk to me?" Felix asked one night. I apologized. What more does he want? I didn't have an answer. We tried everything to reach Kieran. I called every mutual friend we had. Half said they hadn't heard from him. The other half got uncomfortable and changed the subject. I got the feeling they had heard from him, but he'd asked them not to tell us. Helen tried showing up at his gym. He'd canceled his membership. I drove to his old apartment complex 3 times, hoping to catch someone who knew where he'd gone. Nothing. Felix tried sending emails. They never bounced back, but we never got responses either. It was like Kieran had vanished, but he hadn't vanished. Not really. 4 months after that night in the living room, I ran into Dennis Kowalski at a Chamber of Commerce event. Dennis had been one of our clients for 3 years. Good account, steady work. "Hey," Dennis said, shaking my hand. "Wanted to give you a heads up. I'll be working with Kieran going forward." My smile froze. "What?" "Yeah, he reached out last month. Started his own firm. Figured you knew." My heart was pounding. His own firm. Yeah. Same industry. Same city. Good for him. Right? That kid's got a real future. Dennis walked away, leaving me standing there. Kieran had started his own company, and we'd had no idea. I drove home from that chamber event in a daze. Helen was in the kitchen when I got back. I must have looked pale because she immediately asked what was wrong. Kieran started his own company. I said commercial real estate consulting. Same industry, same city. She stared at me. When? I don't know. Months ago, apparently. I sat down at the table. Dennis Kowalski just told me he's moving his account to Kieran. Maybe it's just Dennis, Helen said quietly. But we both knew better. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I searched online for Kieran's company. Found it within minutes. Professional website, clean design, Brennan Consulting Services. He'd used his name, not ours, mission statement about integrity, client relationships, personalized service, a contact form, no photos of him, but his credentials were listed. He'd registered the business 2 weeks after that night in our living room. 2 weeks. While I was telling him to calm down and think things through, he'd already been setting up his exit strategy, filing paperwork, building something new. Over the next few months, more clients left, not all of them, maybe a third, but they were key accounts, the Richardsons, the K family, Westfield Properties. Always the same conversation. "We're going with Kieran now. Did he reach out to you?" I'd ask. He sent an email introducing his new firm. "We have a relationship with him. We trust his judgment." I couldn't argue. Kieran had spent years building those relationships. Lunches, site visits, remembering birthdays and anniversaries. They weren't our clients. They were his. Felix was furious. "He poached our accounts." "That's not legal, is it?" I called our attorney. He reviewed the separation agreement. "Everything's clean," the attorney said. "He didn't violate his non-compete. These clients' contracts were up for renewal anyway. They chose not to renew with you. That's their right. So, we just have to sit here and watch him take our business. It's not your business anymore. He left legally properly. And the clients are choosing him of their own accord." That's what ate at me most. Kieran didn't steal anything. He didn't sabotage us. He didn't have to. I started asking around carefully. What was Kieran saying about us? Was he telling people what Felix did? Was he explaining why he left? Nothing. Every person I talked to said the same thing. Kieran never mentioned family drama. Never badmouthed our firm, never said a negative word about us. He just offered his services and people chose him. One of our former clients, Margaret Sutherland, was honest with me when I called. "Look," she said, "Kieran's good at what he does. He's responsive, thorough, and we've worked with him for 3 years. When he left your firm and started his own, it made sense to follow him. Nothing personal." "Did he say why he left?" "He said he wanted to build something of his own. That's all. He spoke very professionally about you and your company." After I hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. Kieran didn't need to destroy us. He didn't need revenge. His work spoke for itself. Meanwhile, Felix was falling apart. He'd come to work late, sometimes visibly hungover. His performance reviews were getting worse. Clients who stayed with us would ask for me instead of him. One night, about 6 months in, Felix came to my office after everyone else had left. I made one mistake, he said. His voice was bitter. One, and he's acting like I'm some kind of monster. I looked up from my computer. You slept with his fiancée. And I apologized. Felix's face was red. I've apologized 100 times. What more does he want? I can't undo it. I can't take it back. So, what the hell does he want from me? Maybe he doesn't want anything from you. I said quietly. Then why is he doing this? Why start a competing firm? Why take our clients? He's not doing this to punish you, Felix. He's doing it because he's building a life that doesn't include us. Felix stared at me. That's the same thing. No, it's not. After he left, I thought about that conversation for hours. Felix still didn't get it. He thought Kieran's success was about revenge, about showing us up, about making us suffer. But it wasn't. Kieran had simply decided we weren't worth his energy anymore. He didn't waste time being angry or getting even. He just moved forward, and he was succeeding. I looked at the two of them and saw it clearly for the first time. Kieran handled betrayal with calm, decisive action. Built something new, succeeded on his own merit. Felix made excuses, expected immediate forgiveness, and resented the consequences he'd created for himself. And I'd enabled it all by telling Kieran to move on. He did move on, just not the way I wanted. He moved on without us. 8 months since that night in the living room. I kept track in my head, though I tried not to. 8 months of silence, 8 months of nothing. Helen stopped keeping Kieran's room ready for visits. That was the moment I knew she'd accepted it, too. She went in one Saturday morning and boxed up some of his old things. Not to throw away, just to pack. Like sealing off a part of the house we didn't use anymore. I found her sitting on his old bed holding a photo from his college graduation. We weren't perfect parents, she said without looking at me, but we didn't deserve this. I didn't respond because I wasn't sure anymore if that was true. At work, things had stabilized into a new normal. The business was functional, paying bills, making modest profit, but we'd lost the momentum we'd had when Kieran was still with us. We were maintaining, not growing. Felix was trying harder now. I'd insisted he start seeing a therapist after I found him drunk in his office one afternoon. He'd resisted at first, but eventually agreed. The therapist says I need to accept that some things can't be fixed. Felix told me one day that I can't force forgiveness. That's true, but he's my brother. His voice cracked. Doesn't that mean anything? I wanted to tell him it should, but clearly to Kieran, it didn't anymore. He tried one more time to reach out, all of us in our own ways. Helen sent a card to his business address. A simple note, "We miss you. Please call." It never came back, but we never heard anything either. I tried showing up at his office, not to make a scene, just to talk. The receptionist was polite but firm. "Mr. Brennan isn't available. Would you like to leave a message?"
Yeah.
"I'm his father." "I understand."
Yeah.
"Would you like to leave a message?" I left my number. He never called. Felix tried emailing. Long rambling apologies. Explanations. Please. The emails never bounced back. They just disappeared into the void. No responses. No acknowledgement. I even tried going through industry contacts. People who knew both of us professionally. Most were polite but uncomfortable. "I haven't really kept in touch with Kieran," they'd say. The ones who it wouldn't help. "I don't feel comfortable passing along messages." One former colleague told me, "Kieran's made his boundaries pretty clear." That word stuck with me. Boundaries. Kieran hadn't cut us off out of spite. He'd set a boundary. A permanent one. Meanwhile, I kept hearing things through the grapevine. His company was growing, not just surviving, actually expanding. I heard he'd hired 2 employees, signed a lease on a bigger office space, took on a contract with a major development group. Every piece of news was a reminder he was doing fine, better than fine without us. I didn't know where he lived now. Couldn't tell you what neighborhood, what street, what kind of place. Didn't know if he bought a house or rented an apartment. Didn't know who his friends were. If he went out on weekends, what he did for fun. Didn't know if he was dating someone, if he was serious with anyone, if he'd moved on from Vivian. The not knowing was its own kind of torture. Helen put a photo of Kieran on the mantle, not hidden away in an album out where we'd see it every day, young, smiling, before everything broke. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at it with this look of profound loss. One evening about 10 months in, our accountant called with the quarterly numbers. "You're stable," he said. "Revenue's consistent. Nothing to worry about." After I hung up, I sat there thinking about that word. Stable. It should have felt like success. Instead, it felt like defeat. We were stable. Kieran was thriving. Felix came into my office later that week. He looked better than he had in months. Clearer. The therapy was helping. "I'm starting to understand." He said what I did. Why he left? The therapist helped me see it differently. That's good. Do you think he stopped? Started again? Do you think he'll ever forgive me? I wanted to give him hope. But I'd stopped lying to myself. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday, but maybe not. Felix nodded slowly. I can live with that. I have too. But Dad, do you think he's happy? That question gutted me because I had no idea. Then about a week later, I ran into Patricia Kay at a coffee shop. She'd been a mutual contact, someone who'd worked with both our firms at different times. How's Kieran doing? I asked, trying to sound casual. She smiled. Really well, actually. Saw him at a networking event last month. He seems great, healthy, successful. She paused. He's got a good group of people around him now. New friends, new life. After she left, I sat in that coffee shop for an hour. Kieran was thriving, healthy, successful, surrounded by new people. He'd built a whole new life, and none of us were in it. I'm back where I started, sitting in my office, staring at that family photo. It's been almost a year now, a full circle around the calendar since the night Felix confessed. Since I told Kieran to move on, he did. The photo on my desk shows all four of us at Kieran's college graduation. He's in the middle, cap and gown, diploma in hand, smiling. Proud. We were proud. Too. I wonder sometimes what that version of me would think if he could see us now. Helen's on medication for anxiety. Has been for months. The doctor says it's helping, but I still catch her crying at odd times. Yesterday it was while she was watering the plants. Just standing there with tears running down her face. Watering can in hand. The family business is fine. That's the word everyone uses. Fine. Stable. Functional. We're not growing. We're not failing. We're just existing. Felix is doing better. Relatively speaking. The therapy helped him understand the weight of what he did. He takes responsibility now in a way he didn't before. But he's changed. Quieter, less confident. The guilt carved something out of him that won't grow back. I don't blame Kieran anymore. He told me last week, I get it now. I destroyed something I had no right to touch, and he had every right to walk away. It's growth. Too late to matter for Kieran, but growth nonetheless. The house feels different now. Smaller somehow, like Kieran's absence takes up physical space. Helen doesn't cook big family dinners anymore. Felix usually eats alone in his apartment. I work late most nights because going home to that quiet house makes my chest tight. I still hear things about Kieran occasionally. Through industry contacts, through careful casual questions I try not to ask too often. His company's doing well, really well. He landed a major contract with a development corporation last quarter. Hired 3 more employees. There's talk he might expand to a second location. Every piece of news is the same confirmation. He's succeeding. He's thriving without our help, without our name, without us. And the thing is, I'm proud of him. Even though he'll never know it, even though I have no right to be, he handled everything the way I should have taught Felix to handle mistakes. With dignity, with accountability, with quiet, decisive action. When his world fell apart, Kieran didn't explode, didn't beg, didn't make excuses. He simply ended the engagement, transferred out of the business, moved his savings, and started over. Clean lines, clean break. He never badmouthed us publicly. Never told anyone what Felix did. Never exposed his brother or dragged our family through the mud. He just built something better and let his results speak. Meanwhile, I chose comfort. Chose the easy path of keeping the peace. Told the victim his pain didn't matter as much as family unity. And Felix, God. Felix made a terrible choice and then expected immediate forgiveness. Expected everything to go back to normal because he said sorry. I enabled that. I taught him that by asking Kieran to just move on. Last night, I couldn't sleep. I got up around 2 o'clock in the morning and came down to my office, started writing in a journal I keep in my desk drawer. Not for anyone to read, just for me. I wrote, I told you family was bigger than one mistake. But I should have told Felix that some mistakes are big enough to cost you your family. I should have told him that betrayal has consequences. I should have stood up for you instead of asking you to sit down and take it. You didn't throw your life away. You threw us away. And you had every right, too. I stared at those words for a long time. The worst part isn't that Kieran is thriving without our help. It's knowing he handled everything like a man. Calm, decisive, dignified. While we chose comfort over character, I don't know where Kieran lives now. Can't tell you what his home looks like or what neighborhood he's in. Don't know if he's in a relationship or if he's dating. Don't know what he does on weekends or who he spends holidays with. Don't know if he ever thinks about us. If he's forgiven us in his heart, even if he'll never tell us. If he's happy. The not knowing is the consequence. The permanent distance is what we earned. Sometimes Helen asks if I think he'll ever come back. If enough time will heal this. I don't answer anymore because I know the truth. Kieran's not coming back. He made a decision that night in our living room when I told him to move on. When I chose Felix's comfort over his dignity. When I asked him to be the bigger person instead of being the father he deserved. That shift in his eyes, that permanent change I saw was in cutting the cord. Everything after was just procedure. I chose the wrong son. Not because Felix didn't deserve a second chance. Not because what Kieran did was wrong. But because when one son needed me to stand up for what was right, I asked him to stand down for what was easy. The son I told to move on moved on. He just didn't move on the way I wanted. He moved on without us, and we're the ones left behind, sitting in the wreckage we created while he builds something better somewhere we'll never see. I look at that photo one more time. Kieran smile, the pride in his eyes. That man doesn't exist anymore. At least not for us. I close my journal, turn off the desk lamp. Tomorrow, I'll go to work. Helen will water her plants. Felix will go to therapy. The business will continue being fine. And somewhere in this city, Kieran will wake up in a home I've never seen, surrounded by people I've never met, living a life I know nothing about, thriving without us. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.